We witnessed the S&P put in a new all-time high today. Just like yesterday, we were talking about the S&P making a new all-time high, while crypto kind of just is sitting around playing the boring game. And during this time, we need to understand exactly what's happening, which again, if we're thinking about going all the way back to roughly the first quarter of this year, crypto was also playing the boring and frustrating game, while we saw markets like, for example, gold going insane. Again, I talked about it yesterday. We will start to see money flowing into hype. Right now, that's exactly what's supporting the S&P. Is a lot of people jumping into the S&P. Also, we have early buyers because of the FOMC meeting. So there's definitely going to be a lot more growth here for the S&P. But also, gold is going insane as well. The last 4 weekly candles have been very bullish for gold. We are trading at $3,686 per ounce right now on gold, a new all-time high as well. And again, this is just showing us that we're going to continue to see these markets erupting. But the main question here is, when are we going to see the total market cap of crypto exploding? Because this is what the last few weekly candles look like since going all the way back here to July. Yeah, we're trading at around all-time highs, right? If we're going back to just weekly candle closes. However, our all-time high is around 4.17 trillion. Even on our recent wicks, it was 4.05 trillion. We should be trading at all-time highs, right? Because gold is going insane, the S&P is going insane. What's going on here? Because even if we go to the weekly on the S&P, guys, this is insane just looking at this chart. And then we have the total. Not doing too much. Even Bitcoin, by the way, doesn't even look as good as, gold in the S&P. And everyone's kind of wondering exactly what's going on here. Well, crypto's going to play the catch-up game. It's going to play the catch-up game. And it all really starts tomorrow. Now, looking at crypto bubbles, this is what the daily looks like. Again, nothing too crazy out there. Not a insane amount of gains or anything like that. Yes, there's a few outliers like IMX up 10+%. But for the most part, the market is still pretty boring. Even on the 15-minute, yeah, there's some gains out there, but it's a pretty boring day for crypto. Even the last week, there's been some outliers moving, but there's still a lot of red. A lot of shallow gains at around like 3%, 1%, 2%. So if we're looking at this and, we're even looking at Bitcoin, guys, Bitcoin has barely budged over the last couple, weeks. This is the last month for Bitcoin. Why aren't we trading at all-time highs? If everything else is trading at all-time highs, if everything else is performing well, why is Bitcoin not pumping the same way? Why is crypto not pumping the same way? Well, it's mainly because we have yet to see the liquidity flow back into crypto. We have yet to see crypto steal the show, which is why we're focused on this rate cut, getting past this rate cut, and then watching to see the liquidity hit this market yet again. Now, again, we have been talking about the FOMC meeting for what seems like forever now, but tomorrow is the day. I know over here on the FOMC website, a lot of people pretty much ignore the first day. But this September 16th date, which is today, well, we already had the Fed meet with some very prominent names. Tomorrow is where we see the details and the decision from the Fed within these meetings. Now, the reason why today was also very important is because we did get a few updates behind the Fed rate cut decision. Now, still on CME Group, there's a 100% chance of a rate cut. 96.1% is betting on a 25 BPS cut, while 3.9% are betting on a 50 BPS cut. The question here is, what do we get? Well, I would argue that we most likely get a 25 BPS cut. However, we have been hearing from some names like, for example, Trump, regarding a bigger rate cut. We have here Justin Trump says Powell should make a bigger rate cut than he planned. Will it be, 50 BPS or, greater? Again, We don't know, but I feel like if we're really looking at the odds here, I think that a 25 BPS cut is what we get today. Well, tomorrow, I should say, not today. And then also next month, we should start to see potentially a 50 BPS cut. And then to wrap up the end of the year in December, we most likely see a 1 whole basis point cut. So again, we have to watch, wait, and see, but that's my overall prediction here. We'll have to see how things are looking as we do get closer to October and also December. But, things are looking pretty good for 3 rate cuts, and, really kind of seeing an expansion of rate cuts beyond 25 BPS to end off the year. Now, if we go over here as well, just in, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says market is pricing in 75 BPS between now and year end. So essentially, this would be 3 25 BPS cuts from September, October, and then also December. Again, I would be fine with that. We don't have to see an exaggerated rate cut decision, going into the end of the year. Even if we got 25 and then 50 and 50, I would be happy with that. Or if we just get 3 25 BPS cuts, hey, that's also good with me. As long as we start to see rate cuts happening to provide easy money, that's going to be increased liquidity, which also means that we start to see our bags increase drastically. So yeah, this is definitely something I am focused on. Now, on top of this, we also have over here, and this is exactly why I keep telling you guys that the Fed will make us rich. It definitely comes at a cost, but they typically make these markets go insane with a rate cut decision. We have here from the Kabisi letter, JP Morgan on Fed rate cuts this morning. When the Fed cuts rates with the S&P 500 within 1% of an all-time high, it results in an average return of plus 15% over the next 12 months. Furthermore, according to our research, 1 month performance is more spotty, with stocks ending lower 50% of the time. History says near-term volatility after Wednesday's rate cut will be a long-term buying opportunity. And yes, one thing that I want you guys to realize is volatility could definitely happen. We could have a sell the news event, which will lead to an initial sell-off, an initial shakeout, and then we start to see the crazy moves. That's what this section here is telling us, right? That the short-term performance, the 1 month performance, is spotty with a lot of stocks ending lower 50% of the time. This will also this would impact crypto in a big way as well. We could definitely see some lower price action after, and this is even with a rate cut decision happening. It could impact the market, and we could see a sell-off after, just to kind of shake things up, which will be the sell the news event. And then everyone will say, oh, that's it. Rate cuts couldn't even save us. We're going to this level, that level. Everyone flips bearish in the short term. And then all of a sudden they become sideline cash because the market bounces back in a big way. Now, also on top of that, if history repeats itself, the S&P 500 will hit $7,600 in September of next year. Again, my target here on the chart initially is 69.60. This would be a crazy push to the upside. You're talking about $7,600 from where we're trading at now, which is a return of over almost 15%, which is insane. This would cause crypto to also go absolutely insane. Now, what's also the biggest catalyst behind all of this? It's the M2 supply, right? This is from Colin Talks Crypto. We have the global M2 money supply offset by 80 days compared to Bitcoin with no offset. Now, if we're looking at this, okay, so far Bitcoin has just been brewing, hovering, consolidating. We have to play catch up. This is what I mean by we have to play catch up. And if it goes down to, the idea of, all right, well, we get rate cuts, money becomes easier to borrow, which also increases the money supply, which also increases money flowing into these markets. Well, that's only going to surge the M2 supply even higher, which will also provide more fuel for Bitcoin and crypto to go higher as well. Now, if we're just going off of the initial surge here, that would take Bitcoin to almost $200,000. If we're following this to the T, that would be $240,000 on Bitcoin. That would be insane for liquidity for this market. Now, are we going to follow this perfectly? It's hard to say. So far, we have been kind of just a little bit shallower than the M2 supply. If we actually look at some of the targets here, like $126,000 was the target back in December. We didn't hit, close to 126. I think that we hit like 111K. But after that, we sold off, just following the M2 supply. And now we're starting to spike back up. And the question here is, shouldn't we be at close to like 140, 150K by now? We technically should be, which is telling us that this market is all under pressure right now. We're just building and building and building, waiting to expand to the upside. And once we do, I do think that altcoins are going to be the biggest movers, because even over here, we have from Merlin the Trader, altcoins versus Bitcoin, the third strike. 2017, disbelief before liftoff. 2021, same setup, same outcome. 2025, the pattern repeats. Wealth is built where disbelief peaks. Ignore it now and you'll FOMO when alts go parabolic. Because again, just like Merlin is saying here, I've been really putting a spotlight on the fact that a lot of people in this space still are in disbelief that Altseason's ever going to happen. They don't think that it's going to happen. They, keep saying, oh, well, we keep hearing about Altseason. It's never just going to happen. It's, it's dead. It's a terrible narrative to, keep saying now, and this, that, whatever. The market's top. It's all about Bitcoin and Ethereum. Guys, we heard these same narratives back in 2021. We heard these same narratives back in 2017. Altcoins right now, if we are going to follow the chart setup of increased gains, because it's not diminished gains, that should take altcoins to a crazy new all-time high. The altcoin market should be trading significantly higher than where it's at now. And most of these altcoins will 10x, 15x, 20x. That's not unheard of in alt season. Now, I don't think that we're going to fully repeat. So far, we haven't been repeating any pattern. We've been very close to that 2017 pattern, but nothing will repeat perfectly, right? We rhyme. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. I've always said that. It's a very, common motto in this space, and I do completely agree with it, right? I think that we have a very similar run-up going all the way back to 2018, 2021 as well. And this time, it's not going to be extremely different. It's going to be a lot more expanded to the upside, which benefits us because we make more money. And that's because institutional grade adoption is picking up. Wall Street adoption is picking up as well. But all of these things, all of these factors are telling us to be extremely bullish on altcoins, yet most people are just completely giving up on altcoins. And by the way, another great chart that I saw was from Max Crypto, and he said buying alts now is like buying them during COVID crash, FTX dump, yen carry trade crash as well. We all know what happened after that, because if we're looking at others, and now this is others against Ethereum, right? You look at the RSI. The RSI is completely cooked for a lot of these others charts. I mean, even this one from Merlin, this is the others chart against Bitcoin. Most of the altcoin market, right? Like all of these gains that a lot of people have been saying, like, oh, XRP is up 400+%. Yeah, it's great to see. However, the altcoin market has barely budged. The others chart is so important to focus on. I still think that XRP performs very well, but the altcoin market is set for massive, massive moves. And it all really begins tomorrow, in my opinion. I really do think that tomorrow is going to be a very significant day to lock in, listen to what the Fed is telling us, and also, see what kind of rate cut we get. I do think that initially, yeah, it could definitely lead to a sell the news event, just like the Kobayashi letter is saying. This is just going off of research. We might have initial volatility, which is always why I say have some stable coins on the sidelines. Do not play with leverage unless you are experienced. And just lock in some positions if we start to see some sell-offs, if we see a little bit of panic hitting the market, because after that, I do think that these markets are going to erupt in a very, very large way, and altcoins are going to be, really kind of stealing the show. I think that we see Altseason after the FOMC meeting and after we have that, pullback initially. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.